Girl, I wish you could see my face right now. I didn't know Carlos King could get that raw. At the end of this part one video of him interviewing Kenya Moore, what came out of his mouth had my jaw drop. Wow. But let's get into it. Let's start from the beginning. Let's go over some of the things that they went over. And wow. So if you haven't seen it yet, you know Carlos did an interview with Nene where Nene told him that she's not going to be doing no Zoom interview in his shoe office, his closet office. So I think Carlos is now transitioning into the space where he's going to have face-to-face interviews with these ladies. And I think it's a good thing as well. I mean, he got a busy schedule, so I'm not sure how it's easier to just to jump on Zoom and do an interview similar to me just coming on here and doing the voice review instead of showing my face. I don't have to do my hair, put on makeup or anything, but I'm here. But anyway, I digress. We start off the interview with Kenya Moore and Carlos King. We get to find out that they're both from Detroit. I remember them saying that, you know, individually, but now I'm like, wait a minute. Yes, they're both from Detroit, along with from Love and Marriage, Huntsville Destiny. She's also from Detroit. So they bond on that. And he's talking to her about, you know, how she came onto the show. But before he went into that, they touched on, I'm not sure how they got into it, but they touched on the fact that, you know, she didn't have a good relationship with her mother as far as we know. And he wanted to know, how did it all start? So Kenya goes in and she gives us a quick story. And she tells us that how her mother wants to destroy her, or wanted to. She said the reason she took psychology when she went to college is because she wanted to understand why her mother was the way she was. And she does believe that her mother has mental illness, because at about 12 or 13 years old, she said her mom told her that she will destroy her. She would spend her whole life making sure that she destroyed her. She said her mom told her, Kenya, to her face that she didn't have a child. She doesn't know what she's talking about. You know, she's not my child. We all know about this coming out on the show. And we're going to get into how the information was used against her when she confided it in someone. So she said that her mom and her dad were both teenage parents. They were 16 years old. And within Kenya's family, her mom's pregnancy was the second within the family. And this was in the 70s and stuff. You know, people are a little bit more conservative then. Nowadays, we encourage our young ladies to have their babies as soon as possible because of medical illness that could come down the line when you wait too late. So she said that, you know, they were both teenage parents. It was the second pregnancy in her family. And her mom, she's been living with her grandmother since she was 3 days old. So I'm assuming somebody in Kenya's family made her feel that it was just the most horrific thing for her to be getting pregnant as a teenager, because who would make a person feel that bad about themselves to the point where she disowned her own child? So yeah, she talked about that. She said she started doing pageants when she was about 12 or 13, and she said on her first pageant that she won, she forgot the name of it, but her mom, she won the pageant, and her mom went behind her back and called the pageant people, I'm not sure what they're called, and told them that Kenya was a loose little girl, that she drank, that she was promiscuous and stuff, and she didn't represent the crown well. And her and her grandmother, Kenya, had to actually fight for her to keep her pageant, keep her title. So that was the first incident of her mother trying to destroy her. And I think from there, that's when she probably, you know, started to just stay away from her. So they touched on more things. We talk about, you know, what she's done in her life. This is not just, she's not just a beauty queen. She's not just Miss USA. She is, an actress and also a producer. And we found out that when she left Detroit and moved to Los Angeles, she was out there producing shows. And at some point she worked with Will Packer. And you guys know Will Packer is a big producer. And she told Carlos, tell Will Packer don't forget who put him on. So I think she had a big, real influence in Hollywood, but she said it got so monotonous that she couldn't do it anymore. Like, she was getting up and doing the same thing all day. People want change, people want to elevate, people want that variety. So she said she made up her mind to move to Atlanta. So the show was in season 4 by now, and she's letting us know how she came about. She said they were auditioning her, they were having her do scenes, and what the reason that they were doing that was because the other ladies had gone on strike. And because they had gone on strike is because they felt like Kim was getting favorite treatment, and they were really worried about the show for season 5. So she says she filmed with Portia. She kept filming, not getting paid because they were testing her out. And she told them, listen, you either give me a contract or let me walk. And they were like, all right, just film one more scene. And she told them, if I film the scene and you don't give me a contract, you can't use any of it. So that's when she got her contract. Now, Carlos is talking about how her and Portia actually saved that season. And it's based on a scene that she filmed with Portia, where Portia called her, gave her title, instead of saying Miss USA, she said Miss America. And she worked hard for the title, so she corrected Portia. She was like, no, it's not Miss America, it's Miss USA. And Portia just like brushed it off. You're like, whatever, it is what it is. And she told her, no, you're gonna say it right or don't say it at all. And I think they got into a little tiff from there, and then they had a break. The producers talked to each of them. And when they came back together, Portia was still being condescending and nasty. And she said one thing she doesn't like, and now people know that about her, is don't insult me and don't lie to me. So Portia was being insultive and insulting, and she put her in her place. And because of that, they had that exchange, and it kind of made for a good season. Well, she's letting us know that the ladies had gone on strike. She said it was a good thing because they banded together to let the producers know that they couldn't just walk all over them. So that was a good thing. But that is how her and Portia happened to come on to the show. She also said that there was only space for her to come on. But when Kim walked off, based on the strike and what was happening, all the tension, they said they brought Portia on. So Portia was actually a replacement housewife. That's the title she gave her, replacement housewife. And if you remember, in Nene's interview with Carlos, Nene told Carlos that the network was looking to get rid of Portia, I believe, in season 7 or 8, somewhere around there. And Portia and and Nene and Candy and most of the ladies went to production and went to the producers and told them that, listen, she needs it. She's going through a divorce and she needs the show. And that's how they kept Portia. So Portia's been, looking could come off the show for a while. Right now she's not on it and they're saying she needs to come back, but it looked like they've been trying to get rid of her for a long time. So now Carlos is asking her about her friendship with Phaedra. He's like, I thought you and Phaedra were friends. She said one of the main reasons she and Phaedra aren't friends is because she confided in Phaedra about her mom and the relationship that she had with her mom, or lack of it. And at the reunion, Phaedra used that to throw it in her face. She said there's other reasons why her and Phaedra don't get along, and we're going to get into another one of it later on. But she says that's one of the reasons why she doesn't mess with Phaedra, because she confided something really important to Phaedra, something that hurts her, and Phaedra used it against her. She didn't even think twice about using that information against her. So now Carlos is going in, and he's talking about how when she moved and she was living in the area where Nene came to visit her, and you remember Nene walked, is like, oh, the ghetto, the ghetto. She's saying she was in a 5-star hotel across the street from some famous landmark in Atlanta. I'm not from Atlanta, so I don't remember. But she said, It was a great hotel, and they only showed her little office area and was saying that was her room. But she said she understood, you know, that it was all about editing, and because of the editing, she said she didn't plan on coming back. She did not plan to come back after season 5 because she had a hard time based on how she was edited. She was edited to be a mean girl, and that was not the case. She also pointed out to a scene where we had Cynthia and the modeling, and they edit to where she said something derogatory about a young girl. She said that really hurt her feelings because she goes above and beyond to elevate young people, and the way production edited that scene made her look bad, so she wasn't planning on coming back. We didn't know that Carlos wasn't there for that season. So Carlos was with the show from season 1 to 4, and he said he left season 5, which is the season that Phaedra, which is the season that Kenya and Portia came on, and then he was coming back to season 6 because he was excited to work with Kenya, and then the network told him that Kenya was not coming back. So he said he got on a plane and he came out and he took her to dinner. He's like, the only reason I'm back here is to work with you. So she voiced all of her concerns, and he reassured her that he was going to take her hand and walk her through the season, and for her not to worry about it, that she would not be put in a bad light. One thing I forgot to tell you at the top of the review is that Carlos said he and Kenya are actual friends because something that Kenya did for him, people try to make her seem like she's a mean girl or anything, but she's the total opposite of that. Said when his mom passed away from cancer, Kenya took it upon herself to get on a plane and come to Detroit and make sure she attended his mom's funeral, and that touched him to the core. And he said there are other things that happened that he's not going to get into, but he considered her to be a really good friend. So yes, so that happened at the top of the interview. Carlos did that with Nene as well. He gave her flowers at the top of the interview, and then he got in with the questions. Now, he told Kenya that he felt that she is unappreciated on the show, and it kind of shows. They talk about that first chair when you're on the reunion, who sits in the first chair, who should be sitting in the first chair next to Andy. And they both agree that it should be the person who brings it for that season, who makes the season interesting to make people come back and watch. She said that for 3 seasons straight, he said for 3 seasons straight, Nene did not have a story. She didn't make the season interesting, and yet she got to sit next to Andy. He asked, and Carlos agreed. He asked her if he felt that, did Nene really build the franchise or open the house for everybody? And she said, yes, she did. She did make the house open for everybody, but now it's foreclosed on. So I'm like, oh my God. This girl is funny. She said, yes, Nene brought it for everybody, but now it's foreclosed on. She did not have a storyline for 3 seasons straight. We did not see her family. We didn't see her anything. All she did was come into the scene, sit in the corner. All we saw were her shoes. I guess something was going on behind the scenes with Bravo, and Nene was not engaging. And I think at that point, they probably had put it into these contracts that if you don't show up for your scene, you're going to be fined. Because the girls started talking about that soon after that. So you better show up. It has not. The contract weren't written properly because they should have said show up and participate or be fined. But they showed up and didn't participate. Nene did. So they talked about that. Carlos asked her if he felt that she was punished because she went off and got married to Mark without letting the network know. And everybody knows she did. Everybody knows she got punished. She's wondering where are her spin-offs. She wanted to have a spin-off of her having a baby. And of course the network didn't give her. We know that we have the other housewives who have spin-offs. We have Candy having the most. We also have Kim doing a few spin-offs as well. Who else got one? I think those are the only 2. Nene didn't get any spin-offs, or did she? I don't remember. But she said she wanted a spin-off and she brought it to them. Said she didn't keep her mouth closed. She talked to them and told them everything that she wanted. But she thinks she was punished because she did not she didn't show her wedding. Carlos told her he saw a photograph online of her wedding where she saw her giving Mark a fist bump. And he's like, for a wedding, you don't give somebody a fist bump. You're supposed to give him a kiss. So he's like, was your wedding real? She said, of course it was. She tells us of how they met. That she had met him a little while before through Chef Roble. That's another because Mark is in the restaurant business and Chef Roble is a famous black chef. And at that time she wasn't in the headspace to get into a relationship. But then she kept thinking about him, so she called back Chef Roble and asked him, that guy you introduced me to a few months ago, is he single? And from there, that's when they got together. They talk about the fact that, they were going through their divorce. Carlos asked her, did the show contribute to you going through your divorce? And she said, nope. Mark contribute to me going through a divorce. She said, I'm a good woman. I was a good wife, and I'll be a good wife to the next man. So we all know that it's put out there that Mark cheated. So therefore, you gotta go, dude. You can't. She wasn't putting up with that. You're not gonna be married to me and now you're cheating. So I think to get back at her, Mark put into the divorce papers or decree that their daughter Brooklyn could not film on the show. So that's why we didn't see Brooklyn. After a few episodes, we didn't see their daughter on the show. Now we're finding out that he did not want to appear on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, and he didn't want to film, but now he's doing his own reality show. And now he wants Kenya to be okay with him putting Brooklyn in that. And she said that is what took the divorce so long. She's like, I have the money, I could have paid him to go away. But the fact that he wants to film with my daughter and I was not able to, no, we're not having that. So, yeah, so she put a stop to that. And I'm not sure where that is at this point. I think they're still in court, if I'm not mistaken. So, yeah, he's out there filming his own show, that she's saying. And Carlos is like, do you think it's just a pilot or a full show? She's like, well, he's traveling. They're traveling. So I think it's a full show. She tells us that within the last 2 years, Mark has only seen his daughter 2 times because he's so busy that, he's not coming around to see her. Or is Kenya not allowing him to see her? Who knows? There are always reasons why. We hear one side of the story, next side, and then the truth. Remember, Walter was on the show with her where people were saying that she paid him to come on the show. She said, no, that was a true relationship. Even Candy acknowledged there was a true relationship because Candy is a friend of Walter's. Like, everybody knows everybody and they're good friends. She dropped a bombshell. She let us know that with Walter going, after they broke up and stuff, Walter going through all of these magazines and giving stories and whatever, that he retained Phaedra as his attorney. So Walter and Phaedra were in cahoots to take down Kenya. So that is something we didn't know. And that was her actual guy. So I'm guessing after her and Phaedra fell out, Phaedra was making sure that she get to Kenya. Wow. So yeah, they talked about a lot. Like I said, she wanted to know where's her spinoff. She says she really don't hate Nene. She's like, Nene and her are frenemies. Like, they like each other, but when they get together, they're gonna bump heads. And she's fine with that because it makes for good TV and it makes for a good conversation back and forth. So that is part 1 of it. At the end, Carlos asked her, there's a rumor that was out there that she gave fellatio to Phaedra's husband at the time. And that is where we ended it with part 1. That's what I told you at the top of this review, that my jaw was on the floor because I couldn't believe Carlos came out his face and asked her that. But he didn't say it the nice way that I said it. He just came straight out and said, did you do it? And look on the look on Kenya's face is like, did you really just ask me that, Carlos? So yeah. But she goes in and she answers everything. Every question that he asks her, she answers it. So I'm looking forward to part 2 of this interview and to be able to review it. I'm going to leave the link for the interview down below of Carlos King interviewing Kenya Moore. So you could go watch it, listen to it for yourself, because it's really, really interesting. Carlos has been doing some great interviews with all these reality TV stars, and I am here for it. I still have to watch part 2 of his interview with Nene and give my review and get that up. I know it's been a couple of weeks, but it's coming. But go and watch the interview between the two of them, or wait for the part 2 to drop, and then you could just watch it back to back so you could hear it all. But yes, it's really interesting. So Kenya, he feels, is the most unappreciated housewives of the housewives of Atlanta, and also he feels and she feels that she is disrespected. Guys, I thank you for watching this video. Subscribe to the channel, thumbs up this video, share if you care, and until next time, be sure to take care of yourself and your families. Bye bye.